stood in the hospital's cold corridor, hands trembling and heart shattering into pieces. The doctor had just delivered the worst news of my life. Your brother needs surgery within 2 weeks, or we can't save him. My little brother, Tyler, was only 7 years old. He had a congenital heart defect and now time was running out. The cost of the surgery, $250,000. I had barely $2,000 in my bank account. I worked as a waiter at a cheap diner where rent was barely manageable. Our parents were gone. I was all Tyler had left in this world. That night, I returned to our tiny apartment. Tyler lay on the sofa with an oxygen mask covering his small face. Listening to his shallow, struggling breaths broke my heart all over again. When he saw me walk in, he managed a weak smile. "Brother, are you tired?" I brushed his hair gently, fighting back tears that threatened to spill. "No, Tyler, not at all. Just had a busy day, that's all." The next morning, I desperately tried every possible avenue for loan banks, charity organizations, online crowdfunding campaigns, but received nothing but rejections and silence. By evening, I was back at the diner for my shift when the owner pulled me aside into the storage room. "Davon," he said in a hushed voice, "do you have any options that might be unconventional?" I looked at him, confused and wary. "What do you mean by that?" He hesitated, avoiding my direct gaze. "There's this man who comes here sometimes extremely wealthy. His name is Jasper Hale. He makes deals with people. If you truly need money, you should talk to him." I felt shock ripple through me, but desperation overshadowed everything else. "What kind of deals are we talking about?" He continued, avoiding eye contact, clearly uncomfortable. "He'll explain everything himself." He slipped me a folded piece of paper with an address written on it. "Tomorrow night, 9 o'clock. Come alone." I went home that night, unable to sleep or find any peace. I sat beside Tyler, holding his fragile hand, thinking endlessly, could I really take this risk? But listening to Tyler's weak, labored breathing made my decision crystal clear. If there was any way to save his life, I would do absolutely anything. The following night at 9 o'clock sharp, I found myself standing outside a luxury high-rise building in the upscale part of the city. The security guard let me inside as if he had been expecting me. The elevator ascended to the 40th floor, and when the doors opened, I stepped into the most breathtaking penthouse I had ever seen. Floor-to-ceiling windows showcased the glittering city lights below, and there, sitting casually on a leather sofa, was him, Jasper Hale. He was tall with a sharp, defined jawline and perfectly styled dark hair. His gray suit fit him like he had just stepped off a fashion runway. But his eyes, they were cold and calculating, assessing me like I was a business transaction. He looked up and smiled, but that smile carried something dangerous beneath its surface. "You're Davon, correct?" My voice came out shaky and uncertain. "Yes." He stood up and walked closer to me, his gaze intense and unwavering. "I heard you need money for a surgery." I gave a slow nod, unable to form proper words. He picked up a whiskey glass from the side table and took a measured sip. "I'll give you the full amount. $250,000. Cash." My heart pounded violently in my chest. "But," he set the glass down deliberately and turned to face me directly, "but you'll have to become my boyfriend. On a contract basis. 6 months. You'll appear with me in public, attend events, smile when necessary. As for private life, no interference." I felt completely stunned, my mind unable to process what I was hearing. Is this some kind of joke?" His expression remained deadly serious. "I don't make jokes, Davon. I'm giving you until tomorrow morning to decide." He returned to the sofa and pulled out a manila folder from his briefcase. "The contract is ready. Sign it, and the money transfers the same day." My mind went completely blank. What was happening? I searched his face desperately for any hint of humor or deception, but found only unwavering seriousness. "Why?" I asked slowly, barely above a whisper. "Why me?" He studied me for one long second before turning away. "You don't need to know the reasons. Just understand this: your brother's life is in my hands right now. Decide wisely." I left that penthouse with trembling hands and a storm raging inside my head. Could I actually go through with this? The elevator ride down felt eternal. Walking through the cold night streets back to my apartment, everything felt surreal. The city lights blurred as questions bombarded my mind relentlessly. What would this contract actually mean? Would I lose myself completely? But then Tyler's face appeared in my thoughts. His innocent smile. His trusting eyes. His fragile body fighting for every breath. The choice became agonizingly clear. I couldn't let him die because of my hesitation or pride. When I reached our apartment building, I stood outside for several minutes, staring up at our window. Inside that small space was the only family I had left. Tyler depended entirely on me. I thought about our childhood memories, teaching him to ride a bike, reading bedtime stories, making him laugh when he was scared of thunderstorms. Every memory solidified my resolve. I would sign that contract. I would become Jasper Hale's boyfriend, even if it meant selling a piece of my soul, because Tyler's life was worth more than my comfort, more than my dignity, more than anything else in this world. I quietly entered our apartment. Tyler was sleeping peacefully, the oxygen machine humming softly beside him. I sat down next to the sofa and watched him breathe. "I promise you, little brother," I whispered into the darkness. "You're going to be okay. No matter what it takes, you're going to survive this." A single tear rolled down my cheek as I made my decision final. Tomorrow morning I would return to that penthouse. Tomorrow morning I would sign away 6 months of my life. Tomorrow morning everything would change forever. I thought about nothing else throughout that sleepless night. Listening to Tyler's weak breathing and remembering his brave smile, my decision solidified completely. The next morning at 8 o'clock, I stood once again inside that luxurious penthouse. Jasper sat on the same sofa, holding a coffee mug, looking as if he had fully expected my arrival. "Have you made your decision?" he asked with casual indifference. I took a deep breath to steady myself. "Yes, I'll do it," he smiled. But this smile was different, like he had just won some private game only he understood. "Smart choice." He placed a thick contract on the glass table between us. "Read it if you want to." I flipped through the pages mechanically. Legal terminology filled every line. Clauses and conditions and timelines that made little sense to my exhausted brain. But one thing was abundantly clear. Tyler would get his surgery. I picked up the expensive pen, my hand shaking slightly, and signed my name on the dotted line. Jasper took the contract, folded it neatly, and immediately called his lawyer. "Transfer the funds. Right now." Within 5 minutes, my phone vibrated with a notification. $250,000 had been deposited. My eyes widened in disbelief. This was actually happening. Jasper stood up and walked very close to me, invading my personal space. His cologne was strong and dominant, overwhelming my senses. "From this moment forward, you're my boyfriend, Davon. Smile and live. Don't ask questions in private." "Understood," I nodded, feeling extremely uncomfortable but knowing I had no choice now. "Starting tomorrow, you'll live here with me. Leave your apartment behind. Move into my penthouse." I stared at him in shock. "What?" "But Tyler," he interrupted smoothly. "Bring Tyler as well. There's a guest room available. I'll arrange for medical staff to monitor him." Hearing this brought some relief, though everything still felt overwhelmingly sudden and unreal. The following afternoon, I brought Tyler to the penthouse. A complete medical team was already prepared. Nurses, oxygen equipment, everything necessary for his care. Tyler looked confused but was too weak to ask many questions. I tucked him into the large, comfortable bed and kissed his forehead gently. "Everything is going to be all right now." He managed a small, trusting smile that broke and mended my heart simultaneously. When I stepped out of the room, Jasper was standing in the hallway with his arms crossed. "I've ordered clothes for you. Designer brands. Tomorrow evening there's an event. You need to be ready." That night, I explored my assigned room. Pure luxury surrounded me with expensive furniture and artwork, but comfort eluded me completely. Everything felt fake, like I was living someone else's life. I went to the kitchen for water and found Jasper there, drinking wine from a crystal glass. Our eyes met awkwardly. "Feeling nervous?" he asked casually, as if this was a normal conversation. I answered honestly, "Yes." He smirked slightly. "You'll get used to it eventually." He moved closer, setting his wine glass down on the marble counter. "Remember one thing clearly, Davon. You're my property now. Learn to behave accordingly." My heart raced. This man was incredibly cold. The next evening came too quickly. The event was a high-profile charity gala. I wore a designer suit for the first time in my life. Looking at my reflection in the full-length mirror, I barely recognized myself. Jasper was already dressed in a sharp black tuxedo that made him look devastatingly handsome. He glanced at me, pausing for just a second. Not bad at all. We drove to the venue in his sleek black car. The moment we entered, camera flashes exploded around us like fireworks. Reporters shouted questions from every direction. "Mr. Hale, who is this young man with you?" Jasper grabbed my hand firmly, a tight, possessive grip. "This is my boyfriend. His name is Davon." People looked genuinely shocked. I felt equally stunned by the public declaration. He led me toward a small stage and handed me a microphone. "Introduce yourself properly." My hands trembled visibly. "I'm Davon, Jasper's boyfriend." Whispered gossip immediately rippled through the crowd like wildfire. Jasper placed his hand on my shoulder, leaning close so his lips nearly touched my ear, whispering instructions. "Smile naturally. Act like you belong here." I forced my facial muscles into something resembling a smile. The night stretched endlessly. People asked invasive questions. Judgmental stares followed us everywhere. I felt suffocated by the attention and scrutiny. When we finally returned home, Jasper remained silent during the entire drive. As I headed toward my room, I glanced back and saw him standing alone on the balcony, staring at the city lights below. For one brief moment, I thought perhaps he was fighting his own battles too. But then he turned around and the cold, emotionless stare returned to his face. "Starting tomorrow, media will follow you constantly. Be prepared for that." With those words, he walked away to his own room. I collapsed onto my bed, mind racing with questions. What had I gotten myself into? The next morning, I woke early and checked on Tyler first. He looked much better already. The oxygen support had been reduced significantly. The nurse informed me his surgery was scheduled for next week. I breathed a sigh of relief. Maybe this arrangement was worth the sacrifice after all. I went to the kitchen for breakfast and found Jasper already seated at the dining table, working on his laptop, dressed impeccably in another expensive suit. "Good morning," he said without looking up from his screen. I replied awkwardly, "Good morning." We ate breakfast in uncomfortable silence for several minutes. Then Jasper closed his laptop and looked directly at me. "Today we're going shopping together." I looked confused. "Shopping for what?" He nodded toward me. "You need a proper wardrobe. The media watches everything now." I felt uncomfortable but agreed. By afternoon we were inside a luxury shopping mall. Brands I had only heard about in passing. Sales associates recognized Jasper immediately, providing VIP treatment. They selected suits, casual wear, and expensive shoes for me. I stood there like a mannequin, passively accepting their decisions. At one point in the fitting room, I stared at my reflection. Was this really me or someone completely different? Outside, Jasper was on his phone conducting business. "Yes. Confirm the deal. Schedule the meeting for tomorrow." He ended the call and glanced at me as I emerged. "Looks acceptable," he said slowly, though it sounded more like an assessment than a genuine compliment. The following morning, I woke earlier than usual. Going to Tyler's room, I found him looking significantly better. His oxygen support had been reduced even further. The nurse smiled and told me the surgery was confirmed for next week. I exhaled deeply, feeling genuine relief wash over me. Perhaps enduring this strange arrangement was genuinely worthwhile. I headed to the kitchen for breakfast and discovered Jasper already seated at the table, focused intently on his laptop, dressed in yet another immaculate suit. "Good morning," he stated without glancing up. I responded somewhat awkwardly. "Good morning to you too." We shared several minutes of silent breakfast. Eventually, Jasper closed his laptop and directed his attention toward me. "We're going shopping today." I frowned, puzzled. "Shopping? For what exactly?" He nodded in my direction. "You require a proper wardrobe. Media attention is constant now." Though uncomfortable with the idea, I agreed. By midday we had arrived at an exclusive luxury shopping mall, brands whose names I had only encountered in magazines. Sales associates immediately recognized Jasper, providing exceptional VIP service. They carefully selected suits, casual clothing and expensive footwear specifically for me. I stood motionless like a display mannequin, passively accepting every decision they made on my behalf. Inside one fitting room, I studied my reflection carefully. Was this truly me anymore? Or had I become someone entirely different? Outside, Jasper conducted business over his phone. Confirm that deal immediately. Tomorrow's meeting needs scheduling. After ending the call, he observed me as I stepped out wearing the new outfit. Acceptable appearance, he commented slowly, though his tone suggested evaluation rather than sincere appreciation. Following our shopping expedition, we stopped at an upscale cafe. Jasper ordered coffee while I were mostly silent. Suddenly, an elegantly dressed middle-aged woman approached our table. She noticed Jasper and offered a strained smile. Jasper, it's been quite some time. Jasper stood politely, though his smile appeared forced. Mrs. Bennet. Hello. The woman studied me with obvious curiosity. And who might this be? Jasper placed his hand on my shoulder in a distinctly possessive gesture. This is Davon, my boyfriend. Mrs. Bennet's smile faded noticeably. Oh, how interesting. Her tone dripped with barely concealed judgment. After she departed, Jasper returned to his seat looking visibly irritated. I hesitantly inquired, who was that woman? His response came coldly. Nobody important, just history. That evening we returned home. I was having dinner with Tyler when Jasper knocked briefly on the doorframe. I'm heading out. You two stay here. I said nothing in response. He left immediately, but questions flooded my mind. Where did he go these nights? Why all this secrecy surrounding his activities? Curiosity burned inside me, yet I lacked the courage to voice my concerns directly. The next morning, I encountered Jasper again in the kitchen. He appeared fresh and alert, as though he had worked throughout the entire night. I prepared coffee for both of us, surrounded by awkward silence. You know, I began slowly, choosing words carefully. I still don't understand completely why you specifically chose me for this arrangement. Jasper studied me with a serious expression. Because you were desperate, and desperate people are predictable. His blunt statement stung deeply. So that's all I represented to him. Just a convenient tool, but I swallowed my hurt and said nothing more. Around noon, a professional media team arrived. They were here for a photo shoot. They positioned us for various couple poses, expecting fake smiles throughout. Jasper maintained perfect professionalism, executing every pose flawlessly. But I felt deeply uncomfortable in every shot. The photographers kept instructing, move closer together, and Jasper would pull me firmly against him. His touch felt warm yet completely emotionless, devoid of any genuine feeling. During one particular moment, Jasper held my hand tightly for the camera, his skin warm, his grip firm. I glanced toward him and he looked back at me. For one fleeting second, something unspoken passed between us, but then it vanished completely. That evening, I stood alone on the balcony, watching city lights twinkle below. Jasper came and stood beside me. This is all difficult for you, isn't it? He asked casually, as if discussing the weather. I answered truthfully. Yes, it is. He inhaled deeply. You'll adapt eventually. He seemed about to say something more meaningful but stopped himself. I took a risk and asked quietly, Are you happy? Jasper turned toward me, looking genuinely surprised. Why are you asking me that? I shrugged slightly. Just curious, I suppose. He remained silent for several moments, then responded slowly. Happiness is overrated, Davon. After saying this, he walked away, leaving me standing there alone. I remained on that balcony, wondering endlessly. What was happening inside this man? Why did he maintain such emotional coldness? And more puzzling, why was I developing this intense curiosity about his life? The following day, I went to the market for groceries. While shopping, I encountered a man dressed in an expensive, sharp suit. He carried an aura remarkably similar to Jasper's. He noticed me and smirked knowingly. You're Davon, correct? Jasper's so-called boyfriend? I nodded cautiously, feeling uneasy. He laughed darkly. Fascinating situation. Do you know about Jasper's previous relationship? I felt confused and defensive. Why are you telling me this? He leaned closer, whispering conspiratorially. His ex-boyfriend, Nathan died under mysterious circumstances. Some people say Jasper was somehow involved. My blood ran cold hearing this. That's ridiculous. You're joking, right? His expression turned deadly serious. See for yourself. Be very careful around him. He walked away, leaving me shaken and frightened. I returned home with my mind spinning chaotically. Could any of this be true? Was Jasper actually capable of hurting someone? I went directly to Tyler's room, finding comfort in his innocent presence. But when Jasper arrived home later, I found myself viewing him through a completely different lens. He acted normally, going about his evening routine, but my mind couldn't stop replaying that stranger's disturbing words. During dinner that night, I gathered courage and asked carefully, "Did you have a previous boyfriend?" Jasper froze completely, setting down his fork. "Why are you asking about that?" I chose my words extremely carefully. "Just curious about your past." Jasper released a deep, heavy sigh before responding slowly. "Yes. His name was Nathan. He died in a car accident. It happened years ago." He looked directly into my eyes, his tone firm and final. "And if you've heard any rumors suggesting otherwise, ignore them completely. People create false stories." I nodded in acknowledgement, though doubt still gnawed at my insides. That night, lying in bed, I couldn't stop thinking, was Jasper genuinely dangerous, or simply profoundly misunderstood by everyone around him? The next morning arrived with Tyler's surgery scheduled. I found myself in the hospital waiting room, pacing nervously back and forth across the worn linoleum floor. My anxiety was overwhelming, every terrible possibility running through my mind on an endless loop. Then, surprisingly, Jasper arrived. He didn't announce himself or make a grand entrance. He simply sat down beside me quietly. The surgery lasted 3 grueling hours. Every single second felt like an eternity stretching before me. Jasper stood up at one point and returned with 2 cups of coffee, handing me one. "Try to relax. These are the best surgeons in the state." I looked at him, feeling genuinely grateful for his presence. "Thank you for being here." He gave a casual nod, but something different flickered in his eyes. Was it actual concern or merely obligation? Finally, the surgeon emerged from the operating room, still wearing his scrubs. "The surgery was successful. Tyler will recover, though it'll take time. But he's safe now." Relief flooded through me, so powerfully that tears streamed down my face uncontrollably. Jasper placed his hand gently on my shoulder, a tender touch I hadn't expected from him. "See? Everything worked out fine." I turned toward him with a grateful smile, and that moment felt genuinely personal, authentic. But then Jasper withdrew his hand, returning to his usual cold demeanor as if a switch had been flipped. We drove back to the penthouse in silence. Tyler would remain in the intensive care unit for the next several days. That evening, I went to the kitchen for water. Jasper appeared shortly after, pouring himself whiskey and taking slow, measured sips. I hesitated before asking carefully, "Where is your family?" Jasper froze completely, his entire body going rigid. He shot me a sharp look. "Why are you asking me that?" I felt nervous suddenly. "Just wondering, that's all." He set his glass down with deliberate force, his tone turning icy. "My family is dead to me. That's all you need to know." His words shocked me deeply. He continued, his voice filled with bitterness. "My father was a businessman who only saw me as an investment opportunity. My mother never cared about anything except appearances. When I finally became successful, they all came crawling back, wanting money, of course. I cut them off completely." I remained silent, feeling the depth of his pain radiating outward. He added, staring into his whiskey, "Everything in this world is transactional, Davon. Love, family, it's all fake. Money is the only real thing." My heart ached for him, but I couldn't find appropriate words. He walked away to his room and closed the door firmly behind him. I stood there alone, thinking perhaps Jasper was deeply hurt inside. Perhaps his coldness was simply a defense mechanism against further pain. The following day, I went to the market for groceries. While selecting vegetables, a man approached me, dressed in an expensive sharp suit with an aura remarkably similar to Jasper's intimidating presence. He noticed me and smirked knowingly. "You're Davon, correct? Jasper's supposed boyfriend?" I nodded cautiously, feeling immediately uneasy. He laughed darkly. How fascinating. Do you know anything about Jasper's previous relationship? I frowned, confused and defensive. Why would you tell me anything? He leaned closer, whispering conspiratorially. His ex-boyfriend, Nathan, died under extremely mysterious circumstances. Many people believe Jasper was directly involved somehow. My blood ran cold upon hearing this accusation. That's absolutely ridiculous. You must be joking. His expression turned deadly serious. Investigate it yourself. Be extremely careful around him. He walked away casually, leaving me shaken and frightened. I returned home with my mind spinning chaotically. Could any of this possibly be true? Was Jasper actually capable of harming someone he once loved? I went directly to Tyler's room after he'd been brought home from the hospital, finding comfort in his innocent, recovering presence. But when Jasper arrived home later that evening, I found myself viewing him through an entirely different, more suspicious lens. He acted completely normal, going about his usual evening routine, but my mind couldn't stop replaying that stranger's disturbing accusations. During dinner that night, I summoned courage and asked carefully, "Did you have someone before me?" Jasper froze mid-bite, slowly setting down his fork. "Why are you suddenly asking about my past?" I chose my words extremely carefully. "Just trying to understand you better." Jasper released a deep, heavy sigh before responding slowly, measuring each word. "Yes. His name was Nathan. He died in a car accident several years ago." He looked directly into my eyes with a firm, unwavering tone. "And if you've heard any rumors suggesting something different, ignore them completely. People create malicious lies." I nodded in acknowledgement, though doubt continued gnawing at my insides. That night, lying awake in bed, I couldn't stop wondering, was Jasper genuinely dangerous, or simply profoundly misunderstood and unfairly judged by everyone around him? The next morning brought better news. Tyler was finally discharged from the hospital. I felt overwhelmingly happy bringing him back to the penthouse. Jasper surprisingly helped set up Tyler's room, adjusting pillows and ensuring everything was comfortable. Tyler looked at Jasper and offered a weak but genuine smile. "Thank you so much. You helped save my brother." Jasper nodded awkwardly, clearly uncomfortable with gratitude. "You're welcome." This was the first time I witnessed Jasper's guard dropping around children. His defensive walls seemed lower. Perhaps he wasn't as terrible as rumors suggested. But still, doubt lingered persistently in my mind. Over the following days, I watched Jasper carefully. He checked on Tyler regularly, ensuring the medical staff was providing proper care. One afternoon, I discovered him sitting beside Tyler's bed, reading him a story. Tyler was laughing at the funny voices Jasper created for different characters. When Jasper noticed me watching from the doorway, he immediately stopped and stood up, his walls rising again instantly. He asked me to read. I was just passing time, but I had seen something genuine in that moment, something vulnerable and kind beneath his cold exterior. That evening, I confronted my confusion directly. "You're different with Tyler. Why can't you be that way with me?" Jasper looked surprised by my directness. "Children are innocent. Adults always want something." His cynicism was deeply rooted. "I don't want anything from you," I protested. "You already paid for Tyler's surgery. The contract is what it is." Jasper studied me intently, as if searching for deception. "Everyone wants something eventually. It's only a matter of time." I felt frustrated by his inability to trust. "Not everyone is like the people who hurt you, Jasper. Some people genuinely care without ulterior motives." He turned away, staring out the window at the darkening sky. "I've learned not to believe in that fantasy." His words carried such profound sadness that I wanted to reach out and hold him. But I held back, respecting his boundaries. The distance between us felt simultaneously vast and incredibly fragile, as if one wrong word could shatter whatever tentative connection we were building. I realized then that breaking through Jasper's walls would require patience, consistency and time, something our contract relationship might not provide enough of. Tyler continued his recovery, though he remained weak and needed constant monitoring. I balanced caring for him while simultaneously fulfilling my boyfriend duties with Jasper. The media maintained intense interest, demanding pictures, interviews, and event appearances. I had grown accustomed to fake smiling, but internally, confusion reigned. Spending time with Jasper allowed me to understand him slightly better. He frequently worked late into the night, barely sleeping. Sometimes I witnessed him stressed, overhearing heated phone arguments about business matters. Once I gathered courage and asked, "Is everything all right?" His response came curtly, "Business complications. You shouldn't concern yourself." But I was concerned. Because now, this arrangement no longer felt purely contractual. Something was changing between us. Were these genuine feelings developing, or simply attachment born from proximity? I felt completely confused about my own emotions. One particular night, Jasper arrived home extremely late, looking thoroughly exhausted. He loosened his tie and collapsed onto the sofa. I brought him water. "Thanks," he murmured in a low voice. I took a risk and said gently, "You need proper rest. Stop working yourself to death." He looked at me, genuinely surprised. "Why does it matter to you?" I answered honestly, "It matters because I care what happens to you." He studied me for several long seconds before looking away. "You don't know what kind of person I truly am, Davon. You don't understand the things I've done." I responded firmly, "Then explain it to me. I want to listen and understand." Jasper remained silent initially, then began speaking slowly, his voice heavy with old pain. "Nathan was my first real love. He seemed absolutely perfect. We were genuinely happy together. But then he betrayed me, made deals with my rival company, sold my confidential secrets for money. When I discovered his betrayal, I confronted him directly. He became furious, grabbed his car keys and drove off recklessly, and crashed. He died." He paused, the pain clearly visible. "People say I killed him deliberately. But the truth is, I lost him because I couldn't forgive his betrayal." My heart ached hearing his story. "I'm genuinely sorry that happened." Jasper looked at me with a vulnerable expression I'd never seen before. That's when I decided, no more authentic relationships. Only contracts and business deals. Because emotions betray you every single time. Without thinking, I reached out and took his hand. "Not everyone is like those who hurt you, Jasper. Some people remain loyal." He seemed shocked by my touch but didn't pull away. We looked at each other, something unspoken passing between us. Then Jasper withdrew his hand. "You'll leave too when the contract expires. Everyone does." With those words he retreated to his room. I sat there alone, my hands still warm from his touch. Was I actually falling for him? This was all becoming incredibly confusing. The next morning brought troubling news. A business rival had publicly accused Jasper of corruption. The stock market reacted immediately, his company's shares dropping significantly. Jasper spent the entire day on phone calls, his stress levels visibly escalating. I attempted helping, but he remained distant and focused. By evening there was a scheduled press conference. Jasper asked me to accompany him. "I need you there beside me." I felt hesitant but agreed. The press conference turned brutal. Reporters fired aggressive questions relentlessly. "Mr. Hale, did you manipulate business deals illegally? Is your relationship with Davon merely a publicity stunt to distract from these accusations?" Jasper maintained his composure, delivering professional responses, but I noticed his clenched jaw. He was barely containing his anger. One particularly aggressive reporter addressed me directly. "Davon, do you genuinely love Jasper, or is this entire relationship fabricated?" I froze completely, everyone's attention focused on me. Jasper looked at me expectantly. I took a deep breath and faced the cameras directly. "I care deeply about him. That's the truth." My answer was simple but completely honest. The reporters seemed surprised by my sincerity. Driving home afterward, Jasper remained silent. I asked quietly, "Did I answer correctly?" He turned toward me with a surprisingly soft expression. "Yes. Thank you for supporting me." Then he moved closer. "Devon, I know this arrangement is fake, but sometimes, it feels incredibly real to me." My heartbeat accelerated rapidly. He was so close now, mere inches away. I whispered, "I feel the same way." Jasper reached out and touched my cheek gently, his thumb soft against my skin. "This is becoming dangerous for both of us." I nodded but didn't move away. We were drawing closer together, but suddenly Jasper pulled back abruptly. I can't do this. He walked away quickly. I stood there feeling confused and hurt. What was happening between us? Were we both experiencing the same emotions? And if so, why did Jasper keep running away? The following days grew increasingly awkward. Both Jasper and I actively avoided meaningful conversation. Tyler noticed the tension. One afternoon he asked directly, "Brother, are you and Jasper fighting about something?" I forced a smile. "No, everything's fine," but Tyler was perceptive beyond his years. "You like him, don't you?" "I can tell." I felt shocked by his observation. "Tyler," he giggled innocently, "it's okay to like him. He's good to us. He makes you smile sometimes." My heart swelled with emotion. Was I truly falling in love with Jasper? Later that week, another incident shook things further. I discovered a photograph hidden in Jasper's study, him with another man, both smiling genuinely. The back had a date from 3 years ago and the name Nathan written in fading ink. I stared at the photo, seeing Jasper's happiness in that frozen moments. Something I'd never witnessed in person. When Jasper found me holding the photograph, his expression turned cold. "You were snooping through my private things." I shook my head quickly. "It fell when I was cleaning." "I'm sorry." He took the photo and held it carefully. Nathan represented everything I thought love could be, until it wasn't. I asked gently, "Do you still love him?" Jasper looked at the photograph for a long moment. "I loved who I thought he was. The real Nathan betrayed everything we had." I gathered my courage. "I'm not him, Jasper. I would never betray your trust like that." He looked at me intensely. "How can you promise something like that? You barely know me." I stepped closer. "Then let me know you. Really know you. Stop pushing me away." For a moment Jasper's walls seemed ready to crumble. His hand reached toward my face, trembling slightly. But then his phone rang sharply, breaking the moments. He answered it, his expression hardening as he discussed business matters. When he finished the call, the vulnerable moment had passed. "I have meetings all evening. Don't wait up." He left without another word. I sat in his study, surrounded by his carefully controlled life, wondering if I would ever truly reach the real person hidden beneath all these protective layers. Tyler appeared in the doorway. "He's scared, you know, of getting hurt again." I looked at my wise little brother. "How do you know that?" Tyler smiled. "Because he looks at you the same way you look at him, like he wants something he's afraid to have." Those words stayed with me through the long, lonely evening. The next several days passed in uncomfortable tension. Jasper and I both deliberately avoided genuine conversation. Tyler continued observing us with concern. One morning he asked directly, "Brother, are things okay between you and Jasper?" I forced another unconvincing smile. "Yes. Everything's perfectly fine." But Tyler was too intelligent to believe my lie. "You should tell him how you really feel. Keeping secrets makes everything harder." His simple wisdom struck deep. Was I truly falling in love with Jasper? The answer terrified me. That evening, both Jasper and I ended up in the living room after Tyler had gone to bed. Jasper sat drinking wine silently, lost in thought. I gathered all my courage and asked directly, "Why do you keep running away from this?" Jasper set down his glass, giving me a sharp look. "I'm not running from anything." I used a firm tone. "Stop lying. You're scared of what's happening between us." Jasper stood up abruptly, frustration evident. "Yes. I'm absolutely terrified. Because every single time I've trusted someone, they've destroyed me." His voice was loud, filled with years of accumulated pain. I stood up too, moving closer to him. "I'm not Nathan. I won't hurt you the way he did." Jasper looked at me with moisture gathering in his eyes. "How can you possibly know that? You'll abandon me too when our contract ends." "Everyone eventually does." Without thinking about consequences, I said, "I don't want to leave when it ends." Jasper looked shocked. "What did you just say?" I repeated with confidence. "I don't want to leave, Jasper. Because I have genuine feelings for you. This isn't fake anymore." Jasper froze completely, processing my confession. Then he spoke slowly, his voice wavering. This cannot happen between us." I took his hand firmly. "Why not? Why are we pretending these feelings don't exist?" Jasper gripped my hand tightly, showing his vulnerability. Because I can't survive being hurt like that again. I barely survived it the first time. I cupped his face gently with both hands, bringing him closer. Then trust me. Take this risk with me. We stood incredibly close now, our breathing mixing together in the small space between us. Then Jasper closed the remaining gap, kissing me. The kiss was desperate and passionate, filled with months of suppressed emotions. We held each other tightly, years of loneliness and pain pouring out in that single moment. When we finally separated, both of us were breathless. Jasper pressed his forehead against mine. I'm terrified of this, Devon. Of us. I whispered back. I'm scared too, but we can face it together. He nodded, then kissed me again. This time softer, gentler, more tender. The next morning, I woke to find Jasper still beside me, sleeping peacefully. For the first time since meeting him, he looked truly at peace. I gently brushed hair from his face, smiling. Tyler appeared in the doorway, saw us together and smiled broadly, giving an enthusiastic thumbs up. I laughed quietly. Jasper stirred awake, looking confused. What's happening? I said simply, nothing important. Just, everything feels right finally. He smiled, a genuine, unguarded smile I'd never witnessed before. The following week brought the contract's expiration date. The legal team arrived with paperwork, officially ending our arrangement. Jasper looked at me seriously. You're free to leave now if you want. I answered firmly without hesitation. I'm not going anywhere. He looked surprised, but the contract, I interrupted him. I want to stay here, with you. In a real relationship, if you're ready for that. Jasper studied me for several long seconds, then nodded slowly. I'm ready to try. He took the contract papers and literally tore them in half. The contract is finished. Now it's just us without obligations. I laughed and hugged him tightly. Tyler rushed over, and the three of us shared a group embrace. For the first time, it truly felt like we were a family. Months passed beautifully. Jasper and I functioned like a normal couple, going on dates, having occasional arguments, making up afterward. Tyler fully recovered and started attending school regularly, making friends and living like a normal child again. One evening Jasper led me to the penthouse rooftop, where he'd arranged fairy lights creating a magical atmosphere. What's all this for? I asked, amazed. He took my hand gently. Devon, when I first met you, I saw you as just another business transaction. But now, you've become my entire life. I can't imagine existing without you anymore. He reached into his pocket and produced a ring. Will you truly be mine? Forever. Not because of a contract, but because you choose to be. Tears filled my eyes as I smiled enormously. Yes. Absolutely yes, I'm yours. He slipped the ring onto my finger, then kissed me deeply. The city lights sparkled around us, but I only saw Jasper. From below, Tyler cheered loudly. We laughed together, holding each other. This journey had started so strangely, with a contract born from desperation. But now everything was authentically real. Our love was genuine, and I knew with absolute certainty, whatever challenges life brought us, we would face them together. All the weeks following our engagement brought unexpected changes. Jasper began opening up about his business struggles, actually asking for my opinions and input. I started attending his meetings, learning about his company, becoming a genuine partner in every sense. Tyler thrived in his new school, often bringing friends home. Our penthouse transformed from a cold, sterile space into a warm, lived-in home filled with laughter and love. One night, Jasper and I sat on our balcony, watching the city below. I never believed I could have this, he admitted quietly. A real family. Genuine happiness. I thought those things were illusions. I squeezed his hand. They're real when you stop running from them. He kissed my temple softly. Thank you for not giving up on me when I was pushing you away. I smiled. Thank you for finally letting me in. Tyler appeared with hot chocolate for all of us. What are you two being so serious about? Jasper pulled him into a hug. Just talking about how lucky we are to have each other. Tyler grinned. Does this mean I can call you both my family officially now? We looked at each other and answered simultaneously. Yes. Officially and forever. As we sat together under the stars, I reflected on how dramatically life had changed. What began as a desperate deal to save my brother's life had transformed into something beautiful and real. Jasper had shed his cold exterior, revealing the wounded but loving person underneath. I had discovered strength I never knew I possessed. And Tyler had gained not just his health back, but a complete family. Our story wasn't perfect. We still had arguments. Jasper still struggled with trust sometimes, and I occasionally doubted myself. But we faced everything together, with honesty and love. That's what made it real. That's what made it worth every difficult moment we'd endured to get here.